Actually, I think 2 weeks from right now, we're probably going to be live streaming from Gamescom in Germany.
That's right.
You three chuckleheads, but not me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we leave.
Justin's not allowed back in Germany after the 1995 incident.
Yes, exactly.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah, we
Horrible
leave
thing you did.
a week from Saturday. We fly out, so, and then we start the following
I actually fly
Wednesday.
out before that.
Oh.
But yeah, I'll meet you there.
Okay.
See you there.
I hope so. You're just there in like a shirt that's clearly on fire, and you're like, if anyone asks, I'm not here.
Gamescom is the biggest trade show. It's not even a trade show. Biggest video game show in terms of attendance in the world. By a large margin.
I think last year was like 350,000.
What?
That's
Which
too many.
is crazy.
Crazy
because
amount of people.
That's like essentially 10 times bigger than like a PAX or an E3 or whatever.
But we're going to be getting updates on a lot of big upcoming games. Here's what we've confirmed so far as of today. We know we're going to be seeing 2 games that are actually going to be out soon, Final Fantasy 15 and Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Yep.
15 is an interesting case where everything I read about that game, and like we did our making of series, it really makes it look promising. That its E3 demo was so shaky.
Well,
and it's like, but which
Yeah.
one's real? Like,
Yeah.
is it did they just unfortunately have a sort of shaky demo and the game's really awesome, or was it demo showing us the real story? And I guess we'll find out soon.
I have a lot of faith in that game. I mean, especially
I want it to be
like,
really good.
We spent time in that studio and talking to those guys. Like, they seem to get it, and like obviously we won't know until we play the final game. But I think they understand what made Final Fantasy great in the first place, and they understand kind of where it has stumbled. They're super open about it not really being as relevant as it once was. Like, I have a lot of faith in that team.
Make Final Fantasy great again.
Yeah, exactly.
we're going to be seeing Gwent again, the standalone Gwent game, which I think, who's the publisher behind it? Warner Brothers is publishing that? Yeah.
Are they?
Well, they
so.
publish The Witcher, right?
Publish
Yeah.
Witcher, yeah.
And I feel like they're starting to put a lot of marketing muscle behind this, but even though the people that have played it have positive things to say, I don't really sense a lot of excitement for the game.
Well, I think it
just
feels like
anecdotal,
an also ran to. There's so many card games right
There's
now.
also the Elder Scrolls
Yeah,
one.
but-
and
Yeah, exactly.
Hearthstone,
It
of
is,
course.
I mean, I would. We'll see when they come out. I consider kind of Elder Scrolls the also ran. Gwent is a very, very different. I sort of. It's a pet peeve of mine when it gets lumped in with those other card games. Andrew,
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, but I just because
I hate card games.
it's a game that deals with cards, but it's completely different mechanically, and it's not just a different coat of paint. Like. It's like calling, Call of Duty and Halo the same thing. Like
They're both shooters. I was just they're just part of the same genre.
I'm just saying, like 90% of card games that are on the market said, "Hey, Hearthstone's a thing. Let's make our flavor of that." And Gwent's a completely different animal.
Yeah, and it's also like. So there's that weird thing, like people played Fable and they had like the pub games in it that came out separately.
I loved Fable pub games.
Yeah, Fable pub games is amazing, but I also like there are plenty of people who love Fable and separate it from pub games. Whereas with Witcher 3, I do feel like people talked about Gwent more than they talked about like Caravan in Fallout or anything like that. Like I think there are more people who are hardcore about Gwent. Caravan was the card game in Fallout. I think New Vegas.
Dude, I played that game like 50 hours. I don't remember that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in there. Yeah. But yeah, I do think Gwent.
Yeah, it broke through for sure.
Capable of standing on its own, and so I'm actually super like that'll be fascinating because Witcher 3 did incredibly well, and obviously was super well received. We gave it Game of the Year, so like what I want to see how Gwent will carry over.
It depends on its free-to-play hooks and how they support it, and just what their vision is for that game.
We'll be seeing both Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and Battlefield 1, 2 first-person shooters taking place in very different time periods.
Which I'm super excited for Battlefield 1. I haven't cared about a Battlefield probably since 3, but this one looks cool.
And then Titanfall 2.
Yeah.
I think all 3, Battlefield and Titanfall come out both in October, and then
They're a week apart each, so I think it's Titanfall, Battlefield, Call of Duty.
Yes.
Or maybe reverse Battlefield and Titanfall?
Well, actually, Call of Duty might be 2 weeks later, but the thing that's weird to me is that EA releases their 2 big marquee first-person shooters a week apart. I asked them about that at E3, and I need to go back and listen to the transcript. They gave me kind of a weird answer. They're just like, yeah, there's room for both.
Yeah, they're in a weird boat, especially with Mass Effect now in Q1. No Need for Speed this year. Like, the EA as a company is actually really fascinating to me because they're kind of changing their strategy.
No Need for Speed sounds like something a cop would say.
No, there's no Need for Speed this year.
From Microsoft,
where's the fire?
From Microsoft, we'll be getting updates on Halo Wars 2, Gears of War 4,
Gears looks so good.
Recore, and Sea of Thieves.
Yep. And maybe Scalebound or Crackdown? Like, that's such a question mark?
That's weird, yeah. We saw Scalebound again at E3. Yeah.
Yes,
that was
briefly.
You played Recore at E3, right?
I didn't play it, no.
You didn't play it?
We had it on our live show.
Yeah,
It was a demo.
Did you like it?
Seemed fun. It didn't seem exceptional in any way.
I agree.
Because I played Sea of Thieves with. Were you there?
Yeah. It was the four of us.
It was you, me, Marty Sleva, and Alana Pearson. We had we didn't do anything, but we had a really good time. Like it just felt like being in like a Google Hangout or like a Skype chat with a bunch of friends on a boat.
It was super fun. It was probably the most fun I had playing anything in E3. I also don't know what the game is.
Yeah.
Like we played it for whatever that was, 20 minutes, and it really was. It was awesome. It was a really cool experience. But like, is that the game, or is that like a mode in the game? Like, I was just a little confused about like what the big picture is.
Yeah, they got
Either way,
they
they're
got a
doing
little
some
bit
cool
of the No
stuff.
Man's Sky syndrome.
Yes, 100%.
And Crackdown's a weird one because they showed that at Gamescom last year, and they showed off how the cloud computing is going
And it
to
was incredible.
make all this destruction on a huge scale possible.
Yeah.
And ever since then, they've just been. It wasn't
At
at E3.
so they weren't in the conference at all. The conference ended, and they immediately put out a press release that's like, "Hey, we're delayed, and we hope to show you more soon." And then they're not publicly, like, we haven't heard anything about them being at Gamescom.
Well, there was that one quote from an executive at Microsoft being like, "Oh, we didn't need Crackdown this year because we have so many games." And it was like, "Oh, well, I mean, I'll be the judge of that." Thanks.
We'll also be seeing Ukulele.
So excited
Very
for that.
excited for
The
it.
toy box is so good. Oh my god, it's so
Yeah,
fun.
it's really fun.
It's
It's good
perfect.
here.
It feels like
It's good
Banjo
now.
in the best way.
Civilization 6 will be at the show.
Fun to play with 300,000 other people crushing around you.
Resident Evil 7, the VR Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, not exclusively VR, but you can be played in VR.
Yeah. And then Cliff Blazinski's new game Lawbreakers is going to be there, which I don't feel like we've seen in a while.
It's being reworked from, I think, wait, did it go from free to play to $60 or vice versa?
Ooh, I don't know.
They made a change there, and I don't know if it's in response to Overwatch or what it is, but that game looks cool, but Overwatch may have stolen some of its thunder.
I feel bad. They're completely separate games. I always confuse Lawbreakers and Paragon. Like, I will always confuse those two, even though they are not alike whatsoever. I just think I lump them into that kind of like generalized MOBA transformation into shooter slash hero shooter genre.
Paragon's way more of a MOBA.
Yeah. Oh, Paragon's straight up unapologetically a MOBA. I think.
I think it's perfectly okay that your brain does that, and that's a big struggle that a lot of these developers are going to have to fight.
And it's unfair to say they're not alike whatsoever because each game is made up of 3 syllables.
That's true.
So
It's true.
Yep.
Makes it.
I do. I rate games based on syllables. Number of syllables is my big criteria.
So
Zack and Wiki, the adventure of the cursed treasure.
Yep. Sounds good.
It's a lot of syllables.
That's a lot of syllables.
it's like Rise of the Tomb Raider is good.
That's high. Yeah. The more
gonna be-
syllables, the better the game. It's proven.
We're going to be seeing that on PS4.
The
PS4
Legend of
version.
Zelda, the Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, it's good.
It's gonna be great.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, those are also game titles.
Injustice 2 will be there. They just announced 2 new characters. at
3
Comic-Con.
syllables.
Yeah. Well, no.
Injustice. No, it's not. I got really excited about that. Never put me on a game show.
I hope they do more characters.
characters.
I really wasn't crazy about the first Injustice, but I'm a sucker for character reveals. I think like a cool trailer for whoever, like whichever DC character they do would be really cool.
Mafia 3 will be there, although that's coming out pretty soon.
Yep.
We said Sea of Thieves, Battlefront VR.
So excited for
It's
that.
supposed to be there.
It's going to be a
The
great
VR
show.
version of Battlefront. And then you mentioned Zelda. I don't know, like that's the only game Nintendo. It's the biggest game Nintendo has, and Nintendo usually goes to Gamescom, so they're not.
So-
Did they really?
Sony
Okay, that's good to
and
know.
like last year was all Microsoft. Sony and Nintendo didn't really have a presence. So
Weird.
It seems like this year is going to be kind of the same. Sony went for Paris Games Week instead last year as their big European show.
So do you think this is a little bit of inside baseball, but when you go to E3 years and years, you'll see companies reuse elements of their booth.
Yeah.
Like you'll see the same huge round Nintendo sign, year after year after year, and they put it in storage and, cart it back out. But as everyone knows, at E3, they had they recreated Hyrule with all this crazy stuff. Like,
Don't they want to use that again?
So
Yeah, and it wasn't at Comic-Con, right?
So to speak on that, and Damon can speak on that too, we were at Comic-Con, and Nintendo's Comic-Con lineup was completely different than E3.
Yeah.
They were leaning into a lot of like the
Paper
kind
Mario.
of like Paper
Yeah,
Mario,
and like Metroid Prime,
the new Yokai Watch, the new Metroid Prime game, the NES Mini.
Weird.
But then they had a bunch of like kind of greatest hit stuff, which I think they were like, we got this old Donkey Kong barrel, and we got this big 3DS, and here's like a big statue of a Goomba, and they just kind of trotted it all out there.
Here's a bunch of trash.
Yeah, you could basically go play Mario Kart 7 or 8 or whatever the hell.
I mean, that's possibly my favorite part of Gamescom is that because there's so much space and so many people, the booths, even when there's nothing new, like last year Sony had literally nothing new at the show, but their booth was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they had all these like incredible like mascot characters, and they had like this big structure built, and so that feels like the place where Nintendo would recreate Zelda. But I don't know. I don't think we'll see anything new from it necessarily.
No.
Then that game's going to come out, and they're going to throw that beautiful, handcrafted, meticulously made stuff in the trash.
What if it was a comics room at IGN? Reggie.
Yeah.
I'll
Big
get him
fan
on-
of
I'll-
Games.
I'll call him after
If you
this.
work at Nintendo, they have an auction for it.
Oh,
Yep.
Do you know about that?
I didn't know that.
No, they have like internal auctions at Nintendo of America where they're just like, here's a bunch of stuff we've had. Mike Drucker, who
who
used
wants
to,
this Mogoblin or whatever?
yeah, they'll just basically
$5. I hear $5. Do I hear $5.50?
Yeah, like it's where people bought like boxed Nintendo cereal that had never been opened and stuff like that. It's still in the bags.
I love the idea of walking into like Rich George's bedroom and it's
Yeah.
like a McGoblin.
But Zelda was
Cooking
at San Diego Comic-Con in like a hotel room.
Yeah, not like on the show floor.
No
for
show
the public
floor.
to
They
play.
didn't move all that stuff into some guy's hotel. And I don't know if we talked about this story on this show before, but Marty Sleva previewed it at San Diego Comic-Con, and he thought he was supposed to go on, I believe, Friday morning. And instead he showed up on Thursday morning, and he knocked on some random hotel suite, and this old couple opened the door, and he was like, is
I'm
Zelda
here to play
here?
Zelda.
And they were like, who are you? And he's like, oh my God, I got the day wrong. And then he left, and they left, and then the next day he came back to the same room, and Zelda
So
was
right room, wrong day.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That'd be a good name for a movie.
Yeah.
The
So
story
was
would have been better
syllables.
if the old couple invited him in anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just let's see what happens.
And they played like Zelda on NES.
Or if the old couple had been like, what an idiot, and closed the door, and they're like, now we've got Zelda all to ourselves.
So if Sony's not there, then I guess we're not going to be seeing Last Guardian, even though that's out in October as well.
Yeah, and PSVR.
No PSVR, which is also
they're
out in October.
what, a month and a half out from PSVR by that point.
Yeah.
Do you remember my housewarming party?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was my neighbors were having a quinceanera, and Marty wandered into that party instead of my housewarming.
That's right. I remember being
Means that
grateful.
Justin's
Marty.
got some weird friends.
That boy needs new glasses.
Yeah.